A question that I get asked fairly often is how much does it cost to run YouTube ads? And there's a simple answer to that question and a not so simple answer. So the simple answer is that it costs as much as you want it to. So you can set the budget to whatever you want. You can set it to spend $1 a day, or you can set it to spend $10,000 a day, or probably more, although I've never spent more than that myself, so I don't know where that upper limit is. But essentially, you can spend whatever you want in terms of daily budget. Now, the question, and where the not so simple explanation comes in, is well, if I spend $1, or I spend $10, or I spend $100, what does that get me? Like, how many views does that get me? How many clicks does that get me? How many leads? How many sales? Etc. And the answer to that is it depends on a lot of things. So the way that YouTube ads are priced is in terms of cost per thousand impressions, or CPM. If you see CPM on your YouTube ads dashboard, that's what that means. So an impression means anytime a person sees your ad. So perhaps they see the ad comes up and they have the chance to skip it or not skip it. Now what they do doesn't affect whether it's an impression. If they see the ad, then it counts as an impression. If they watch at least 30 seconds of the ad, then it counts as a view. Now a lot of people think that you only get charged per views, and it used to be that way. So if people didn't watch at least 30 seconds of the ad, then you wouldn't get charged for it. But it doesn't work that way anymore. Now it's purely cost per impression. So then what determines the cost per impression? How much do you pay per impression or per 1,000 impressions? And the answer to that is it's a little tricky. It's an auction. You're bidding with other advertisers for those impressions, and it's all done automatically. So basically it comes down to a function of supply and demand. If you remember your old high school economics, supply in this case means how many impressions are available. So that generally means how big is the target market that you are targeting. So if your target is everybody in the entire world, then your supply is very big, and so your cost per impression is going to be relatively low. But if your target is Fortune 500 executives, then that's a very small market. That's only like 500 times 5 or whatever, like how many executives per company. So it's only a few thousand. That's going to be a very small target market. And so that means that the ad costs are going to be relatively high, or the cost per impression is going to be relatively high. So that's the supply side. Now you also have to consider the demand side. In other words, how many other advertisers are also competing for this market. So for example, if your target is, let's say, homeless people, well, probably not a lot of other people are trying to advertise to homeless people. And homeless people do have phones these days, thanks to Obama phone or some government programs, I think. But if you want to advertise to the people that are least desirable, your cost for advertising is going to be very, very low. If you want to advertise again to those people that are the Fortune 500 executives, like the people that have the most money, chances are your cost per ad is going to be pretty high. So consider how competitive your market is. That's going to affect your cost per 1,000 impressions. So it's a balance of the two. How big is the market and how competitive it is? And the smaller it is and the more competitive, the more expensive the cost per impression. Now, what you care about probably isn't really cost per impression. You care about what's your cost per lead or what's your cost per sale. And that depends a lot on your sales process and how effective your sales process is at turning impressions into leads or into customers. So the quality of the ad will determine how many people that are impressions will turn into clicks, right? How many people who see the ad will click on the ad. If the ad is good, then that will be a high percentage. If the ad is bad, then it'll be a low percentage. Assuming the cost per impression or cost per 1,000 impressions stays the same either way, a good ad is going to get a much cheaper cost per click than a bad ad that's not compelling to people. And then the same is true with the rest of your sales process. So if you have an opt-in page after the person clicks, the better the opt-in page, the cheaper your cost per opt-in is going to be, the cheaper your cost per lead is going to be. And then the better your sales process to actually buy the product, again, the cheaper the cost per sale is going to be. So the cost per impression is calculated on the YouTube side. That's based on the supply and demand in the market. You don't really have a whole lot of control on that. But the cost per lead, the cost per sale, the cost per click, you do have control. You have some control over that because it depends on how good your ads and how good your sales processes are. Now, if you would like help setting up YouTube ads, I've been doing this pretty much like all day, every day for years. I got a ton of experience. I've done it very successfully. I've boiled it down to a science. If you would like help, I'll put a link in the description where you can book a call with me and we'll discuss how your business runs and if and how I can help you to get leads and get sales from YouTube ads. Or if you're interested, I also have a free guide that shows you my method for doing YouTube ads. I'll put a link to that as well. You can get that for free if you like. I hope that's helpful. And if you want more about how to be successful with ads and with marketing your business in general, then follow the channel, hit like, subscribe, etc. And I'll see you in the next one.